Today we're going to be talking about the new book releases that are releasing in March. I realise we're already a couple of weeks into March, but I hadn't had a chance until now to record this video, mainly because I have a grand total of 46 new book releases that I want to tell you guys about. Recording this video is going to take a long time, and so I needed to free up basically my entire morning. You're welcome. So in this video I'm going to be talking about the books in publication date order. If you guys in the future would like me to tackle these books in any other kind of order, like genres maybe, let me know and I can absolutely do that, but for now we will carry on as normal talking about them in the order that they release. If you would like to leave a comment and tell me which books you're most looking forward to in March. And without further ado, let's get on with the books because I have a lot to talk about right now. First book that came out on the 1st of March is The Full Risk by Abby Jimenez. This is just a very short story, it's only 80 or so pages. It's a romance book by her. It's set on Valentine's Day weekend and there are two neighbours called Charlotte and Sean, and neither of them are really looking for romance. They get stuck together for the weekend or maybe just for the day. I'm sure you can all figure out where it goes from there. I love Abby Jimenez's books. I've read another short story by her before as well, and her books always make me really happy and also really emotional, so I'm looking forward to reading this one soon. Stone Angels. This one is a historical fiction book. The main character is Korean American, and now that she is divorced and her own mother has passed away, she would like to take the time to go to Korea and discover her cultural homeland. She knows that her mother had some sort of tragedy in her past because her mother lived in Korea while Japan occupied it. And so the main character starts to discover more about her mother and more about her family's history when she travels to Korea. The Immortal Woman. This one is another historical fiction. This is a generational story which you guys know that I love. It's initially set in China in the 1960s, and her father is captured and is perhaps killed as a political prisoner, and the main character knows that she has to get out of China in order to keep her daughter safe. And so her daughter Lynn ends up growing up in the US or maybe Canada, and then eventually Lynn wants to or is forced to discover more about her background. Red Dog Farm. This one is set in Iceland, which is one of my favourite places that I have ever visited. It says that it's an atmospheric coming of age story about a man who is living on his family's cattle farm and his transformative year. When the Bones Sing. This one is a YA horror / thriller. I've read something by this author before. It was called Dark and Shallow Lies and I really enjoyed it. I found it so atmospheric. It was set in Louisiana, kind of in like the swamps, and so it was very atmospheric, very gothic, and I think that this one is going to be as well. It's about a teenage girl who can hear the bones of the dead, which is very exciting. The synopsis in particular mentions something about murdered hikers, and I really enjoy thrillers and horror books about hiking and people being murdered while on hikes because I actually really enjoy going on hikes and long walks, so this concept is just exciting to me. They Bloom at Night. This is another YA horror book. It's set in Louisiana and it's set after a hurricane has hit and then the wildlife becomes mutated, and looking at this cover it looks absolutely horrifying. Wild Dark Shore. This is by the author of Once There Were Wolves and Migrations, which you might have heard of. I own both of them but I haven't read them yet. I would really like to though. This book is about a family who are living on a remote island and then a mysterious woman washes ashore one day. I think the sort of backdrop of this book is that the sea levels are rising and this family have perhaps been forced to move to this island, or they're already living there and they're dealing with the rising sea levels. I think it's a bit of a mystery thriller, but it's also mainly about family. Spells, Strings and Forgotten Things. This one is about a young witch who is cursed, which means that she must sacrifice her memories in order to cast spells. I think it's a bit of a cozy romantasy as well. It says here that Calliope has sizzling chemistry with a man that she can't trust, so this one does sound fun and very intriguing. A Harvest of Hearts. I had already heard of this one because I think some book boxes have some special editions of this one. I'm not going to say which ones those boxes are because I don't want to spoil anyone who's subscribed to them. That's how I heard about this one, and it's not got the best rating. I'm a bit hesitant to commit to reading this one, but I'm very intrigued to see if people end up liking it. This has been likened to Howl's Moving Castle because it's said to be very whimsical. It says here that the main character has been snagged. It doesn't really say what that means, and then it talks about a sorcerer who is the only one in the kingdom and he's got a riot of black curls and perfectly etched cheekbones. I don't really know if this one is for me, but as I said, I am quite intrigued by it because of the book box that is releasing it, so I'm gonna look out for some more reviews on this one, I think. The Girl from Greenwich Street. This one is actually based on a true story and it's a historical mystery thriller kind of thing. It's about Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr who are investigating a murder of a young woman, and to be honest I know nothing about this time. Actually no, that's a lie. I have seen Hamilton on stage, but other than that I know nothing about this time period or anything about them. So I'm kind of intrigued by this one, but again, do I need to have prior knowledge? I'm not sure. Broken Country. This one is another historical fiction. It says here that Beth and her gentle, kind husband Frank are happily married. Their relationship relies on the past staying buried. Beth's brother-in-law shoots a dog going after their sheep. Beth doesn't realise the gunshot will alter the course of their lives. I don't want to read any more than that. I don't love reading about animals dying, but if it's just like a very brief moment, then I can probably just skip that page maybe. I'm very interested in seeing the sort of mystery and thrilling aspects of this and how this event changes everything for them. It's got a 4.51 rating on Goodreads right now, which is very intriguing to me. We Were Warned. This one is a YA thriller. It says here that everyone knows the legend of Fairport Village. 25 years ago, a shocking murder closed the place down. This year, the ruins will be bulldozed at last, but tonight it's not too late to die. I really enjoy thrillers set in small towns and villages, especially if those small towns and villages have like legends and mythology and lore surrounding them, because I grew up in a small village and we definitely had our own like ghost stories and stuff. So I'm really interested in reading this one. Scott Unbothered. This one is a romance book set in Scotland. The main character dreams of being a published author, and then she is expelled from Edinburgh University. So now she is a ghostwriter and is trying to kind of get her writing fixed that way. And so through her mentor, the main character meets the love interest Jack. I think it sounds fun. I really love Scotland. It's again one of my favourite places I've ever been. So I'd like to pick this one up when I'm in the mood for a romance book. Boxcar Librarian. This one is another historical fiction. Apparently March is the month for them. It says that this one is inspired by true events. It's a thrilling Depression era novel about a woman's quest to uncover a mystery surrounding a local librarian and the Boxcar Library, a converted mining train that brought books to isolated rural towns in Montana. Again, not really a time period or an event, a thing that I really know anything about, but I'm very intrigued by the idea of the library. And then finally for this date, we have The Scorpion and the Night Blossom by Emily Wenshaw, who is an author that I've read from before and really enjoyed. This is the first book in her new duology. And this one is set in a world that has been invaded by demons, and the main character has to take part in some trials and probably fight off demons and stuff. I don't really know much else about it, but I'm very intrigued. I know that I like this author's writing, so I'd like to give this one a go. Moving on to the 11th of March, we have Malinali, who was apparently one of the most controversial and misunderstood women in Mexico's history, and it's kind of weaving in mythology and real life stuff. So again, another historical book. It says here that it's about a native interpreter who helped the Spanish to communicate with the native people of Mexico, and she was initially treated or seen as a goddess when she like marched into the Mexican cities, but I think their view of her quickly changed when they realised who she was kind of helping. I'm very intrigued by this one. Again, this isn't something that I know loads about, but it is a topic I would like to learn more about, so I'm going to pick this one up I think as soon as I can. Blood Beneath the Snow. This one is a adult romantasy book, and it's about a rebellious princess who needs to compete to the death against her siblings in order to win the crown, and then also because it's a romantasy, she falls in love with her enemy, of course. You Killed Me First. This one is by John Mars. It's another mystery thriller by him. I think this is more of a psychological thriller rather than his like slightly sci-fi adjacent ones. It says here that it's about 3 women who have 3 smouldering secrets. It's set on the 5th of November, which in the UK is Bonfire Night, and a woman awakens to a nightmare. She is bound and gagged and lies trapped in the heart of a towering bonfire. I've only read one book by John Mars so far, and I did really enjoy it, so that's why this one's on the list. I want to get to it eventually, but I kind of want to read his books in order. All the Other Mothers Hate Me. This is an adult mystery thriller book. There's a quote in the description of this one that says, "The missing boy is 10-year-old Alfie Risby, and to be perfectly honest with you, he's a little shit." And that sold me. I think that sounds great. Fan Service. This is a paranormal romance book, which I have been saying that I want more of, but I have read a book by this author before and I didn't enjoy it, so I don't know. I'm holding off on buying this one, but I might pick it up if I'm in the mood for a paranormal romance book. Going by the cover, it's probably about werewolves. And the description mentions something about wrangling his inner beast, so I don't know, I might pick it up. Go Luck Yourself. This one is a romance book. It's the second book in this series. It's an enemies to lovers St. Patrick's Day romance story. The Antidote. This one is another historical fiction book, and it's set in the Dust Bowl, and it's about 5 characters whose fates become entangled after a storm ravishes their small Nebraskan town. What caught my eye about this one is that it says that it has urgent warnings for our own climate emergency, challenging readers with a vision of what might have been and what could still be. Really like the sound of this. I'm really intrigued by sci-fi, so if this has elements of that while also being historical fiction, I'm very interested in picking up. Homegrown Magic. This one is the first in a series. It's a fantasy romance book. It seems like it's co-written by 2 YA authors, but this is their first adult book. It's about witches, and I think that's probably all I need to say because I'm in a rush. I've been talking for ages and we're only halfway through the month. Trouble Up North. This is literary fiction. It's said to be a haunting novel about some bootleggers. They're all from the same family, and also their troubled history. It says that the Sawbrooks have lived on prime real estate on the lakes of Michigan since before there was prime real estate. A family of smugglers and bootleggers. Every man, woman and child in each generation has been taught to navigate the nooks and crannies of the rivers and highways that flow in and out of Canada. The hidden roots are the family's legacy. Love the sound of this one. I'd like to pick it up ASAP. The Winter Goddess. This one is another mythology retelling, in particular Gaelic mythology this time, and it's about the goddess of winter. Rose of Jericho. This one is historical horror. It's set in New England and it talks about like ghosts, ghouls, witches in the description. Set in a small town, which I've already said that I really enjoy. It says here that a mother wasting away from cancer is suddenly up and about. A boy trampled by a milk cart walks away from the accident. A hanged man can still speak, broken neck and all. The dead are not dying. Love the sound of that. Sounds a bit like a supernatural episode. On to the 18th of March. First of all, we have Sunrise on the Reaping. This is the newest Hunger Games book that's coming out. This is Haymitch's Games. I'm a bit hesitant to read this because I didn't like A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes the last time she released a prequel. But I'm gonna read it anyway, like it's the Hunger Games, and I recently rewatched the whole Hunger Games series. It's such a good series and the themes in it are just fantastic and applicable to what's going on in the world now. So I will be picking this one up, but I will be a bit hesitant because I'm a bit scared. The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. I am not a massive fan of this author, I have discovered. I rated one book by him 1 star and I've soft DNF'd another book that I've tried. I thought I'd put this on here anyway because you guys might be interested. This is a historical horror book set in the American West in 1912. It says here that a diary written in 1912 is discovered within a wall. What it unveils is a slow massacre chain of events that go back to 217 Blackfeet dead in the snow. I don't know, it does sound good. His concepts always sound really good to me, but I don't get on with his writing. But I am really tempted to read this. I might do. The Bane Witch. This is another witchy romance fantasy book. It says that it's practical magic meets Gone Girl, about a woman who is more than a witch, she is a hunter. Pierce has always had an affinity for poisonous things, plants and men. She fakes her own death in an attempt to escape her volatile marriage and goes to stay with her estranged great aunt in the mountains. Something about a serial killer operating in the area as well. This sounds good. I like the sound of this one. The Prince Without Sorrow. This one is said to draw on inspiration from ancient India. It's the first in a trilogy and it's a debut author, which makes me very intrigued. I really enjoy supporting debut authors. It's about a prince who is the youngest son of an emperor, and he's basically considered an outcast because he doesn't agree with his dad's like tyrannical reign. And there's also another main character who is a witch and a pacifist. So I love the sound of this one. I cannot wait to pick it up. The cover is not really giving Indian mythology to me, so I'm intrigued to see whether the characters start to like travel around or something. It talks a lot about nature spirits and witches being hunted to extinction, so I guess that's why the cover features, you know, a dragon or some sort of dragon. It doesn't have any legs, and a deer. I don't know, I love the sound of this one, so I'm gonna pick it up. The Hymn of Dionysus. This is a Greek mythology retelling about the Greek god of madness and other things. I've tried reading a book by Natasha Pulley before and I didn't love it, so yeah, I'm a bit hesitant to read this one, but I'm intrigued, so we'll see. In the Company of Killers. This is a YA thriller book. It says that it's Gossip Girl meets The Sopranos, about a teenage mafia heiress who would do anything to avenge her family, even join forces with the handsome enemy. I might read this one if people say that it's good. Everybody Says It's Everything. This one is about twins who are growing up in America in the 90s. I think it's 1999 to be precise. They're adopted and they have absolutely no connection to their Albanian heritage. And then as they grow up, I think they start to reconnect and want to learn more about their roots. And I love the sound of that, so I would really like to pick this one up. Finally, we're on to the final week of March. The first one that's coming out, or the first one I would like to mention, is This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. I really like her thriller books, and that's what this one is. It says that it's about 5 amateur sleuths whose hunt for an elusive killer catapults them into danger as the world watches. I'm not going to read the rest of the synopsis because I know that I'm going to read this one and I don't want the synopsis to spoil anything for me because often thriller synopses do that. I'm going to pick it up, so I'm looking forward to it. Just thought I'd let you know that she's releasing another thriller. Blood on Her Tongue. This one is gothic, horror, historical with vampires. It's set in the Netherlands in the 1800s, 1887, I think. And the main character, Luce's sister, is unwell. She's refusing to eat and is acting really weirdly. And she's been diagnosed with temporary insanity, but soon she starts to become hungry Hungry. Tilt. This one is kind of like a literary suspense book, I think. It's set over the course of just one day, so I'm imagining it to be very, very fast paced. The main character, Annie, is 9 months pregnant. An earthquake hits her town. She's unable to reach her husband, and so she needs to cross the city, I think, in order to get home. I think it sounds quite good. When the Moon Hits Your Eye by John Scalzi. I cannot take this title seriously. I keep wanting to sing whenever I read it. I think that's probably the intent. So this is a sci-fi comedy kind of book. He releases quite a few of these. And to be fair, I do get on quite well with them. So this one is about what would really happen if the moon was suddenly replaced by a giant wheel of cheese. Not sure what the plot is meant to be. Nowhere. This is a horror book. It says that it's a spine-tingling and twisty debut about a series of disappearances in a small town and what one broken family must do to remain together as dark forces close in. Set in Virginia, a disturbing crime rocks their tight-knit religious community, and it's a haunting family saga. So it sounds great, and I love that it's drawing from Appalachian folklore as well. Dissolution. This one is a sci-fi fantasy book. It's by the author of Ascension, which came out last year. You might have heard of that one. I have soft DNF'd that because I didn't get into it, but I would still like to try this because I think it's unrelated. It says here that a woman is diving into her husband's memories to uncover a decades-old feud threatening reality itself in a staggering techno thriller from the best-selling author. So this one plays with memories, which I really like the sound of. To Steal from Thieves. This one is YA fantasy historical, and it's a heist book. I love those. It's set in London, and the main character seems to be a con woman. I'm not sure what she's like conning. It says that she's trying to rob one of the most public, heavily guarded buildings in London, and it's not going to be easy. I like the sound of this a lot. The Keeper of Lonely Spirits. This one is a fantasy book. It's cozy, it's queer. It's about an immortal ghost hunter who must confront his tragic past in order to embrace his found family vibes. Cozy. Love the sound of it. And then finally, the last book that I would like to read, or that I would like to feature, that's coming out in March, is Story of a Murder, The Wives, the Mistress, and Dr. Crippen. This is by Hallie Rubenhold, who is one of my all-time favourite authors. She wrote The Five, which I adored, and this is a non-fiction true crime book by her. And it says here that she is re-examining the events leading up to the infamous Crippen murder from the perspectives of the three women at the centre of it all. So she's kind of going back to the vibe of The Five, I think. And I cannot wait to read it. I'm so excited. So thank you all for watching. As I said, let me know which of these you're most looking forward to in the comments below. Tell me if I've missed any out. There are lots of good books coming out in March, but I feel like not many of them are being like too hyped up, apart from the new Hunger Games book, of course. So I don't know, I feel like March is going to be the month of discovering new authors, new types of books, and we'll see which ones end up being favourites. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll speak to you all in the next one. Bye!